Coming up on this Friday edition of Daybreak, no sign of a change in North Korea's economic policy as the two Koreas discuss management of their joint Gaeseong Industrial Complex days after the execution of the North Korean leader's uncle. A delegation of officials from the G20 nations also visits the business park. Korean lawmakers adopt a resolution urging Japan to stop trying to expand its military role by way of a collective self-defense and to face up to its wartime atrocities. Plus, on the 11th day of their strike, union workers of the state-run railway operator KORAIL stage a massive rally in downtown Seoul, demanding the government stop moving towards privatization. Daybreak begins now.
You're watching Daybreak on Friday, December 20th. I'm Choi Yusun in Seoul. We begin this morning at North Korea's border town of Gaeseong, where officials from the two Koreas met to discuss modernizing and globalizing the inter-Korean industrial complex there. The meeting, along with a visit to the factory zone by a foreign delegation, came as uncertainties linger over the future of North Korea's economic policies. Park Ji-won has more.
The two Koreas met on Thursday for the first time since the North executed its second-in-command and key economic policymaker, Jang Song-taek, last week. It's the fourth round of inter-Korean discussions on the management of their jointly run Gaeseong Industrial Complex. On the agenda was easing the commute and custom procedures for South Korean workers crossing the border to the north, as well as allowing the use of the internet and mobile phones within the complex. Another key issue was attracting foreign investors. On the same day, North Korea welcomed a delegation of foreign officials from the group of 20 nations to the joint business park. Experts say Thursday's inter-Korean talks and visit by the G20 delegation offered a glimpse at North Korea's economic policy and where the joint factory zone stands after Chang's execution. As the country's key economic policymaker, Chang had been in charge of a handful of economic cooperation projects. Meanwhile, former NBA star Dennis Rodman left for Pyongyang for the third time this year. Experts say if Rodman meets with his North Korean friend Kim Jong-un again, it will signal the regime remains stable, at least for now. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
The UN General Assembly has adopted a resolution condemning North Korea for its human rights abuses. The resolution, adopted by consensus on Wednesday, called on the North Korean regime to immediately release its political prisoners and raise concerns about systematic and grave violations of civil, political, economic, and social rights of the people. It also referred to open executions that take place inside the reclusive state. The latest resolution comes days after UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon said Jang Song-taek's execution was a human rights issue and that the UN does not endorse the death penalty under any circumstances. The General Assembly also adopted resolutions on Syria and Iran, expressing serious concerns about human rights violations in those countries. Korean lawmakers here in the South came together in a rare show of solidarity on Thursday, passing a resolution that calls on Japan to stop its move towards boosting its regional military role. Kim Hyun-ji has more.
In an all-member assembly session Thursday, lawmakers approved a resolution demanding Japan stop its push for collective self-defense, which would allow Tokyo to use force in the event an ally is attacked. The resolution says Tokyo's push for collective self-defense runs counter to its constitution that was adopted after World War II, which renounces war as a sovereign right and the use of force as a means of settling international disputes. It urges Japan to move away from efforts to deny or glorify its imperialistic past and demands that Tokyo accept legal responsibility for the Korean victims of sexual slavery during World War II and offer them due compensation. The resolution also calls on Japan to stop making false claims to the Korea-controlled Dokdo Islets. In the resolution, Korean lawmakers also demanded that the U.S. work with Japan to dispel Korea's worries, saying that Japan's denial of history and shift from years of pacifism disrupts the post-war international order. Washington has given Tokyo full support for its pursuit of collective self-defense, saying that Japan's endeavor can contribute to peace in Northeast Asia. However, tensions have ratcheted up in the region, following China's declaration of an air defense zone over the East China Sea late last month. On Tuesday, Japan's cabinet approved a new defense package that significantly boosts its military spending over the next 5 years, citing China's growing power in the region as a reason. Kim Hyun-ji, Arirang News.
Korea's defense ministry has announced the interim results of its investigation into allegations the military intervened in last year's presidential election. The ministry says the military posted thousands of political comments online, but they were not aimed at intervening in the election. Our Han Da-eun reports.
After a 2-month investigation into the military's Cyber Warfare Command, the Defense Ministry announced Thursday that the unit posted some 15,000 political comments online. About 2,000 of the comments named specific political parties or politicians. The military explained, however, that the comments targeted North Korea and others seen as a threat to national security and were part of a larger strategy that was not aimed at influencing last year's presidential election. The head of the ministry's Central Investigation Command, Baek Nak-jong, said the comments were posted under the direction of the Cyber Command Chief, who ordered unit members to post strong comments online, including political claims on significant national security issues. Those include North Korea's sinking of the South Korean warship Cheonan and allegations that late President Roh Moo-hyun conceded the northern limit line during his 2007 summit with then North Korean leader Kim Jong-il. Officials added the unit was not related to the National Intelligence Service in any way. The Cyber Command Chief has been stripped of his post, while 10 members of the unit have been indicted for posting more political comments than others. Immediately following the announcement, Democratic Party members of the Parliament's National Defense Committee released a statement saying the results of the probe are unacceptable and demanded an independent investigation into the case. The party claims that it was a target of the Cyber Command Unit's smear campaign and that it hurt their candidates' chances in last year's election. Pundits say the military has left room for controversy as questions remain about how the political comments they posted differ from an organized smear campaign. Han Da-eun, Arirang News.
The nationwide rail strike rumbles into its 12th day on this Friday with no end in sight. Thursday was capped off with a second massive street protest by striking rail workers in downtown Seoul. The state-owned rail operator continues to insist that all striking workers return to their posts immediately, but the demands are falling on deaf ears. Our Kim Hyun-gil reports.
At least 10,000 angry unionized workers from the state-run Korea Railroad Corporation made speeches and chanted slogans as they gathered in front of Seoul Plaza near City Hall on Thursday. Hundreds of police formed barricades around the plaza to prepare for any possible clashes, and thousands of ordinary citizens showed up in support of the rail workers. On day 11 of the longest railway strike in Korea's history, rail workers from all over the nation gathered to protest the government's move to establish a new rail operator, which they claim as being a first step toward privatization.
The government is not providing any answers to our requests not to privatize KORAIL. Instead, they are just cracking down on our massive rallies, saying they're illegal. We are out here again to protest against President Park Geun-hye. We're asking her to stick to her pledges.
The massive strike comes as police raided 4 regional headquarters of Korea's Railway Workers Union on Thursday with court-issued warrants. The police also said they arrested one of the 25 strike leaders on Thursday, for whom the court had issued arrest warrants. The state-owned KORAIL gave an ultimatum to return to work by Thursday, and so far at least 950 workers have returned. The strike has crippled railway services nationwide, hitting cargo train services the hardest. Freight rail operations are running at 39% their normal levels, and long-distance KORAIL services at 56% and 61% respectively.
Despite the union's request to delay the issuance of a license for the new rail service, the government decided to go ahead with a plan as scheduled on Friday. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
And now we take a look back at the highlights of President Park Geun-hye's past first 10 months in office. Our presidential office correspondent Oh Jin-ju walks us through her accomplishments and the challenges that remain.
What does the public think about President Park's performance over the past 10 months? A Gallup Korea survey conducted last week shows that more than half of the people thought that President Park had done a good job, while 35% were less supportive. Many had high marks for President Park on her firm principle in dealing with North Korea. Experts say this is why South Korea wasn't swayed by Pyongyang's provocative acts and was successful in keeping tensions from escalating any further than they did. President Park was also very active on the diplomatic front. She's held a total of 30 bilateral summits and made 5 overseas trips, winning support for her North Korea policy and pushing ahead with what she calls sales diplomacy. But major tasks remain. Many analysts say although President Park was able to bolster bilateral relations with China, she has more work to do in strengthening the country's relationship with the U.S.
We have a lot of homework to do about our relationship with the United States. We have to develop our comprehensive strategic alliance. We have to think about what to do about that alliance. We announced that alliance in 2009, and after that, there has been nothing to undergird the alliance, to fill up the contents of the alliance.
Poor grades were given for her handling of domestic issues. In particular, pundits point out that she lacked the skills and effort to communicate with the public and the opposition party, especially with the ongoing political impasse at the National Assembly.
Her grade is disappointing, especially because she started out with a very high hopes. We look around in labor stripes, and the politicians get bickering each other as hard as ever. So those kind of things, people point to the president who's in charge. So in that sense, I think the expectation management is one of the key issues. But then her communication style has not helped either.
There is also criticism that she has fallen short on her campaign pledge for welfare expansion. The biggest example is the government scaled-back basic pension program announced in September. However, the presidential office of Chung Won-tae says it is too early to say that she didn't keep her campaign promises, as the first 10 months have been a period to set up the basic structure and framework of the administration. Oh Jin-ju, Arirang News.
If you want the latest news from Korea and around the world,
return to the negotiation.
President Park Geun-hye plans, given the current circumstances.
on your way to work or at home,
Defense Ministry. The legislature will convene a.
tune into Daybreak on Arirang TV.
Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said Tuesday.
The mercury level is dropping rapidly here in Korea, and the weather is forecast to get even colder as we head into the Christmas weekend. During this time of year, sagging energy reserves are always a concern, but thankfully, Korea is expected to enjoy a stable power supply this winter. Yurian has more.
Warmer winter weather and a more stable energy supply are going to help Korea keep the lights on this season. But the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy on Thursday said the country's power reserves will hover around a safe level of 5 million kilowatts this winter, even when energy usage reaches its peak in the last week of January. That's provided that 3 of the country's 23 nuclear reactors are back up and running again soon, after being shut down back in May for using cables with fake certificates. Officials say the 3 will most likely begin operations again in the second half of next month. But the government did warn that unseasonably cold weather and malfunctioning nuclear reactors could bring about a power shortage. To keep energy usage at a safe level, it said it will offer a special rate cut of 30% on electricity consumed during the least busy hours, while the rate during peak hours may increase to 4 times the normal rate. Companies and shopping districts have also been ordered to keep their thermostats below 18 degrees. Yurian, Arirang News.
All that glitters might be gold, but the price of the precious metal has taken a massive hit this year, tumbling a staggering 25%. Despite the downward trend, the chance to buy gold at what some see as a knockdown price has sparked a gold rush here in Korea. Kwon So-ah reports.
To buy or to sell? That is the question these days when it comes to gold. Right now in Korea, the clear answer to that question is to buy. And consumers are.
With Christmas and New Year coming up, many seasonal products are being released. Gold bars and seasonal pure gold products are selling well.
With global demand dropping to a 4-year low, Korean gold prices have plunged as well. The price fell from roughly $44 a gram in September to $39 this month. At the beginning of the year, the price was $56. Compared to last year, gold can be purchased at rates that are 30% cheaper. In 2011, the price of gold hit a record high of $67, which is about 40% higher than the current figures. In one jewelry shop in central Seoul's Jongno district, 10 first birthday rings are sold each day, a drastic jump from years ago when it was just 2 rings a day on average. 24-carat rings are a traditional gift for Korean babies on their first birthdays, and their lower price tags these days are enabling more people to afford them. So why did the gold price drop this far?
The biggest reason for the drop in the price of gold is the beginning of the drawdown of quantitative easing, meaning it depends on whether the US dollar is strong or weak.
Economists say due to expectations that the Federal Reserve would begin tapering its quantitative easing program, the price of gold had dropped in recent months. They add that Wednesday's announcement by Fed Chief Ben Bernanke did not result in drastic changes in global gold prices. Experts say there is a chance that gold prices will drop further in 2014, but that they will stay in the range of $1,200 per ounce for the time being. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
Korea is pretty well known globally for its vibrant fashion scene, but you may have been wondering who the best dressed people are in the country. Well, ponder no more, because the Korea Best Dressed Awards were held in Seoul on Thursday night, and our Connie Lee was there.
Meet some of Korea's best dressed people. From celebrities to politicians, the annual Korea Best Dressers Swan Awards recognize some big names who have style. A total of 14 people won, including Korea's A-list actor Chung Woo-sung and model-turned-actress Ko Jun-hee. Philippine-born lawmaker Lee Jasmine was also awarded as a politician with some fashion sense. She's now become the first foreigner to be given this award.
This award show started in 1983, so it's been 30 years of trying to get Korea's fashion industry in the global spotlight. The winners weren't selected just for the clothes they wear. They were chosen for their sense of style and how they present themselves in an attire that suits them.
Hosted by model agency Model Line and the Korea Fashion Association, the event boasted some 500 guests, including fashion industry leaders from China and Japan. In its 30th year, the Swan Award winners are selected by fashion industry insiders and through online surveys. Other Best Dressed winners include model and actor Clara, ballerina Kim Joo-won, and child actor Yeo Jin-gu. Korean designer Yang Hae-il was also recognized with the Designer of the Year award. Past winners include current President Park Geun-hye when she was a lawmaker, and K-pop stars SHINee and Super Junior. Connie Lee, Arirang News.
This might not come as too big of a surprise considering his KGB background, but Russian President Vladimir Putin has defended the bulk surveillance activities of the U.S. National Security Agency. Speaking during his annual press conference in Moscow on Thursday, Putin said mass monitoring of communications was necessary in the fight against terrorism, but he suggested the U.S. limit its appetite to snoop on the public. He went on to say that surveillance should be done within a framework of rules, and the U.S. spy agency should be revamped and its relation to the U.S. government reviewed. When asked about former NSA contractor Edward Snowden, Putin said he had never met him and Russia was only offering him asylum.
And TGI Friday, everyone, as we kick things off in the K-League. Now, after losing out on the takeover of Seongnam Ilhwa Cheonmadi, Ansan City didn't give up in having a team in their city. And after Thursday, they got closer to taking over the police team. Now, after putting in a request to take over the police team earlier this month, the budget for the team was approved by the city on Thursday. Now, they say a budget approval shows that they're just about finalizing the deal, which will bring the team to the city. Of course, in the past, the city of Ansan tried to take over the military team before being rejected. And now with that, moving on with the KBL All-Star break taking place, it's been quite an exciting first half of the season. But for the most part, the top teams remain the same. And after 26 games, the two teams who faced off in last season's championship, Seoul SK Knights and Ulsan Mobis Phoebus, are tied for first place with 18 wins and 8 losses. While many expected this, no one expected Anyang KGC and Wonju-dongbu Promi to struggle so much as they sit in the bottom of the league despite facing off against each other in the championships just 2 seasons ago. And now with that, finishing things off with Thursday night's V-League action as Hunguk Insurance Life Pink Spiders beat the Korean Expressway 3-2, with Lisa Vasileva of Pink Spiders putting up a record 57 attack points on the night. Meanwhile, let's shift over to the men's side as LIG took on the Korean Air Jumbos. Now, a rather tight game from the start as LIG rallies back in the first set to take the set 28-26 before doing the same in the second set as well, 28-26 once again. But the Korean Air Jumbo shift the momentum in the third set as they force a fourth set 25-20, but with Michael Sanchez struggling on the night and LIG's Thomas Egger putting up a game-high 32 points, LIG takes the fourth set 25-22 and a 3-1 victory. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great weekend, everyone, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Happy Friday morning to you. I'm Lee Ji-hyun with your latest weather forecast. Well, it's freezing this morning and bitter cold temperatures along with snow flurries will continue to grip the nation today. And the morning lows are all starting out in the negative side and afternoon highs should be similar to a tad lower than yesterday. The snow clouds have formed in the west, dropping the dust of snow to most parts of the country except here in Seoul and the surrounding area. And the sharp wind will make it very cold Friday, so be sure to bundle up tight before heading out. Now, this unseasonably cold weather should stick around for a few days, but we'll see fairly sunny skies on the weekend, and things will start to warm up on Sunday afternoon. With that in mind, here are the readings for today. Morning low in Seoul is starting out at -7. And the afternoon highs will get up to freezing mark, and Daegu and Gwangju should pick 5 and 3 respectively, while Busan climb into 7. Now let's see how other regions are looking. Jeju should see a high of 7, Daejeon and Dokdo will reach at 2, while freezing morning is in store for Mount Kumgang at -14. That's all for Korea, and here's the global forecast for viewers around the world. That's all from me at this hour. Enjoy your morning commute and hope you have a wonderful Friday.
And that does it for this Friday edition of Daybreak. Thank you for being with us.